What is up, everybody, to another episode of the Nerdy Brigade. Today with me I have,
Donald.
And Scotty.
and then welcome you all to another episode of the Global Tier List Podcast. Now, to be topical and to obey our Disney overlords, we are going to be watching the brand new Cruella film based on the villain from 101 Dalmatians, I believe. So we are going to watch it. Well, actually, first we're going to do our predictions. Then we're going to watch it off screen. And then come back with our raw predictions and place it on our tier list just like we usually do. As for our predictions, let's have Donnie start off like usual and see what we got.
All right. I think this movie is gonna be an okay movie. I think Disney has sunk the Bezos bucks into this project, and I don't think it will turn out terrible. Like the lowest we're getting is I think around Aladdin area. I think it's gonna be from the trailers I've seen, it's probably gonna be Girl Boss the movie, which is okay, I guess. So I'll say I want to say the same like Spies in Disguise area. I'm thinking either above or below. I'll say below, but it's gonna be a good movie. Pretty basic, but good.
I have no idea what to expect from this movie. I don't know the story of what Sleeping Beauty. I think is that we. No. This is 101 Dalmatians. Yeah. Oh fuck! I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the story of 101 Dal. One. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's like Harley Quinn but more emo, so that's interesting. And based on that, I still don't know what's going on. So I'm gonna agree with Donnie here, and I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think maybe like below Spies in Disguise.
And as for myself, I'm a little bit conflicted, to be honest with you. So I feel like the big thing to get out of the way here is that the reason why I think this film was probably going to be less offensive than a lot of its like other Disney live-action remakes is that this is not a remake, as far as I'm aware. Cruella's backstory is never elaborated on in 101 Dalmatians. She's just the antagonist for the film. So this is going to be similar to like a Maleficent-type movie where they're giving a backstory to a character that originally didn't have one. Now, the complicated thing with Maleficent is that it tried to make her into a sympathetic character, into like a relatable villain, by kind of, changing the story a little bit. So that works. So it's gonna be strange, honestly. Like Donnie said sometime before the Discord calls, I really don't understand how they're gonna take a villain whose plan was to skin the dogs from 101 Dalmatians into a sympathetic villain, because I really doubt this movie's gonna go the whole like 9 yards with Joker and just give us straight up an insane maniac for the entire film that we just have to watch and see their descent into madness. I don't think we're getting that out of like a Disney film necessarily. It should also be mentioned that from the trailers, this film has a very lighthearted tone from what I can tell from the dialogue. It's kind of like as like embracing your crazy, but in a villainous, fun way? I don't know. Scott mentioning Harley Quinn was actually kind of on point, I believe, for this film. So, I don't really know, honestly. I don't think it's going to be amazing, honestly. But B tier is pretty fitting. I don't think it's with how much money must have been poured into this film. There's no way it could hit D tier or below unless it's like just that fucking ridiculous with his character. But to be honest with you, I think it's going to be, I don't know. Honestly, this type of area is kind of fitting, but I don't think it's going to get above Force Awakens I'm going to rank it just a tad bit lower. That's really all I've got for predictions. And now with all of those out of the way, we are going to continue on to the movie. So we will watch it, and we'll be back for our raw reviews. See you then.
Bye, gamers.
Alrighty, so we just finished watching Cruella, and now it's time for our raw reviews, and I am up first. So, honest to God, it's very late for us, but I have a lot to say about this film, so I'm about to apologize to my two friends, because this movie was a fucking... It was a train of shit. So, the film starts off legitimately, like, very, very poorly, I want to state. It is so corny and ridiculous in the beginning of the film when it's showing Cruella growing up, from the narration to the actual dialogue itself to the fact that spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, but her fucking mother dies because Dalmatians push her off of a fucking cliff. Um, it is an utterly baffling introduction, and it really had me worried for a while. And then I also but I also knew that this film was 2 hours long, and I was not enjoying it, and I was like, oh my fucking god, this is not gonna be going well. And legitimately, I still was not enjoying it for quite a while. The whole circumstances of her spending time as a thief and then eventually getting recruited because, like, we've seen it a million times in movies before where, like, the protagonist does something and everyone's like, oh my god, no, it was so bad, and then the one person comes in and is like, actually, it was good. And then she gets fucking recruited or whatever. Like, it was all very forced and whatever, honestly, and I just wasn't a fan of this film until, well, she started becoming Cruella for the most part. Now, when she first does her phase shift, when she figures out that the villain was the one who killed her adoptive mother, it was really jarring because all of a sudden she was acting like super evil and all that shit, or not evil, like she was just really sassy all of a sudden, and even like her own friends really weren't taking her seriously. But there was a lot of cool moments here and there, and the whole other thing that I want to mention too is that the fact that it really was just like a phase, I kind of want to say, because she later does actually lose despite embracing like her Cruella identity, and then she manages to win in her own way that doesn't rely on like straight up murder. It's dude, I'm going all over the place. I apologize, because the plot is like, it goes places, man. Like, you got like, there's not only like a bunch of plot twists throughout the film, from like the villain being her mother to the fucking pendant, like to Johnny Sin's fucking a maid. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this movie, and I want to say that the plot is filled. I don't want to go into details anymore, actually, because this movie's really recently it's fucking got released a few days ago, but I've already spoiled quite a fair bit, actually. I apologize, this is a terrible review, but I just want to say the story, although it's got its twists and turns, and some of them I think are a little stupid. I think the twist of it being her mother is, like, really dumb and unnecessary, but I guess they needed to have, like, some other substantial stakes for the finale or something. I don't know. Honestly, it was pretty weird. Besides from that, I had a fun time with the story. It started off pretty corny, and then it was pretty predictable, but then it legitimately was just very fun. Seeing all the stunts that Cruella would pull off in the film. The cast really started to warm up on me after a while. Even like minor characters like the gay best friend and the assistants of the Baroness, like all those characters started to warm up with me after a while because, well, the film is so lighthearted and fun, and it's just kind of hard not to enjoy what you're experiencing for a large portion. Do I think this film needed to be like 2 hours? I don't know. It worked out pretty well, to be honest with you. Again, there are parts of this movie that are not enjoyable, but its pacing is surprisingly not that big of an issue, in my opinion, mostly because the stuff that's on screen is usually pretty stimulating in some way. I'm not just saying that because Cruella. Apologies. But it's good. It warmed up on me to like a lot, honestly. I was not a fan, and now I'm kind of into it. I'm not saying that those parts of the film that are not enjoyable because of corny lines or just weird decisions in general are okay. I'm just saying that the film has a lot more positives than it has negatives for me. Apologies. I'm still just trying to think here for a second on what else is important to me. Oh, I want to say the Baroness is a really, really good villain. I enjoyed her quite a fair bit. Yeah, you could say that she's pretty atypical for like a narcissistic villain, all that stuff. But I don't know, they really go all the way with her narcissism that makes her into a very uniquely hateable villain, and I think it works out pretty well. She seems like almost indestructible at a lot of points, and it's really nice to see her fail at the end of the film in a way that isn't murder, because, well, like narrative parallels and all that jazz. Although it really doesn't make much sense that she killed the stepmother all that much just because she was asking for money or something like that. Whatever. I wasn't listening to that. We made a joke at the time, so the murder was probably thoroughly explained somewhere else. I also wanted to state that I think, Jeebus. something else to say for the most part, but it's just kind of escaping my memory now, unfortunately. Oh, yes. This film's weird like Maleficent in the way that it sort of makes Cruella into a more sympathetic character. Legitimately, I was like, during her like full-on evil period in like the midpoint of the film, which she's like at her most diabolical, it is what do you mean by diabolical? I mean she's like fucking crashing shows and skinning puppies. But it's at that point, I really thought this was just gonna be a film showing her like dark descent into the crazy character we see at the beginning of 101 Dalmatians. And honestly, with how she sort of kind of like does the right thing at the end of this movie, it's really weird, honestly. Like you cannot tell me that the character at the end of this movie is the same one we see in that film, because like there is no shred of goodness at all in Cruella during the original 101 Dalmatians. She's evil to the bone, honestly. And I know even though in the end they say that her good personality died in that stunt, it really doesn't make like just a whole lot of sense for her to do the right thing and then just be an ass for the rest of her life. I don't know. It's just kind of whack. I know it's like a Disney movie and it's just supposed to be kind of lighthearted, good, and they can't really have a Light Yagami situation where the protagonist is actually evil, but I don't know, man. Whenever you're doing these villain backstories, you can't just turn the villain into a good guy. It kind of fucks with the original story. Um, if you look at this as a standalone film, I think it's much better, honestly. Instead of trying to compare it to where Cruella is at the end of 101 Dalmatians, because this movie really doesn't do anything for her character there, because she's so utterly different. So I don't know. It's fine. I would say, from what I can remember, I think I like this movie quite a fair more bit than Maleficent, but it's still... actually, one last thing I want to mention before is that in this movie, there's kind of like this whole artsy-fartsy type of bullshit where the movie shows, like, it's got a big thing for fashion, but me, as a white cracker living in the hillbillies, I don't understand fashion, all of that very well, and what makes it good. So this is kind of like a Ratatouille thing, where they eat the food and they're like, amazing, great, this is truly expertise. And it's kind of like the same thing in fashion, because sometimes the outfits look good, sometimes they look god-awful, and they're still praised as good. It's kind of just like, you really just gotta take the film's word for it, that the fashion is good, and the other fashion is bad. Thankfully, it doesn't get like that complex. It's relatively simplistic for the most part, that Cruella makes good designs throughout the entire film. So it's not like anything bullshit. I just wanted to mention that because, for a lot of the movie, you just gotta take their word that the fashion is very good. Because sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it looks good at all, but they tell me it looks good, so I'm like, alright, man, you do you. But, again, I like this movie quite a fair bit, and I think it's about time I place it somewhere. Now, for me, around like the hour point, I was saying that I think I would like to place this movie somewhere like in C tier, but I warmed up to it quite a fair bit, honestly. I do think it belongs in B. However, its placement in B is like really hard for me, honestly. So just give me a second while I compare everything. Honestly, this is already gonna be a rough occasion, because a lot of B movies are kind of like stupid, have fun movies, and Cruella is to a certain extent a stupid, have fun movie, but it's kind of like a weaker focus in almost every single way. From like the whole scheming aspect of it, the fact that a lot of the film relies on like lighthearted, like heists and whatnot. It kind of reminds me of that general feeling. Unfortunately, focus is all the way in A tier, so I can't exactly do a great comparison for that. But let's try to do this one at a time here. Better than Independence Day, probably. Independence Day is a little too slow, a little too corny. Even though Independence Day absolutely has like more impactful individual scenes, just because of how iconic a film it is, I think its length and its general corniness really holds it back from really being anywhere amazing in B tier. That's why it's at bottom B. Absolutely better than Mortal Kombat. I think Independence Day is better than Mortal Kombat anyways, and this film it's just dumb action for the majority of it. It only has like one action scene that's like actually amazing. Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong is pretty comparable to Mortal Kombat. Even though I like the aesthetic quite a bit better. iRobot vs. Cruella. I think I'm just gonna skip ahead. I'm gonna say that I think it's better than both of these movies for the most part, but um, mostly because these movies have pretty glaring flaws in their story and structure. Like Godzilla has a giant dip in the middle where the story's just kind of non-existent, and iRobot is like incredibly cheesy, and its special effects are kind of poo-poo, and like the finale is kind of just whack, honestly, with a surprise antagonist that is boring as hell. And then going up any further, this is where we hit some dice. I think on one hand, Planet of the Apes is definitely a film with way better, like with a way deeper message, but I think it almost loses to Cruella in every single way. It's not a fair fucking comparison, I should stress, because this film was like 40 to 50 years ago, and this film literally came out like I don't know, like 2 days ago or some shit. I would say that I enjoyed the characters in Planet of the Apes a lot better, or the protagonists, I should say, because the other monkeys are all right, but nothing amazing. The practical effects are pretty good, but obviously in 2021 with Disney bucks, this movie looks amazing, and it also sounds amazing because they were able to get a lot of soundtracks. Now, I personally didn't get a lot out of the soundtrack, but there were some songs here and there I recognized, and I know Donnie and Scott were gushing over it the entire time. I'll just say it's better. This movie's better. This movie's better paced and all that stuff, and it doesn't have all the problems of being such an old film. Going any higher, though, is where I hit some spicy aspects, to be honest with you. Honestly, it's pretty comparable to Force Awakens for me for a lot of reasons, honestly. Alright, how about this? I have been talking for a while at this point, close to like 15 minutes, so I'm just going to keep it right there and end my discussion and pass it to Donnie. So we can discuss more when we get all three together, but that's where I'm going to place it for now. Alrighty, Donnie, you are good to go.
Um, yeah, I like this movie. It was good. I think something that really stood out to me from the first moments was the really slick editing. Editing and music. Uh, Very nice transitions between scenes and very pleasing to the eye. For a movie about fashion, I really like the artsy side of it. Really captures 70s Britain counterculture, which is interesting. Um, yeah, that's all I really have to say about the aesthetics. It's a very good movie to look at. It's very easy on the eyes. Um, and we're watching this very legally on a what do you call it? Very legal copy where the pixelation is high. And even through that, I could see just how good this movie looked. Um, I Now I want to talk about the beginning of the movie. I thought the beginning of the movie was really slow, and that it didn't really pick up until I think she learned that her mom is like the Baroness and like what the Baroness did. And to be fair, that's like an hour in. So you still got like a good chunk of movie left. And that final chunk of movie I think is really, really solid. Like incredibly solid. Like if that were the entire movie, I'd probably put this in A tier. Um I just it kept my attention from scene to scene, but I do remember feeling just ugh and dragged out. Not like I'm gonna fall asleep bored, but kind of just like bored. Like I think um it kind of builds you up and knocks you down. It's just the structuring of it. When her house burned down, it felt like a finale, and I don't know. For some reason, I just felt it was a little slow. Um, I will say that when this movie is fun, it's really fun. Um, the just the slickness of everything works together so well. It's all your favorite 70s jams, and they're the action scenes are amazing, and it's like a musical set to your favorite songs. It's crazy. Um, I there's something else I wanted to talk about with this movie. Um, kind of how uh I found the dialogue to be extra sharp and kind of witty at pretty much all points, which I really enjoyed. It was very I think the one word I could use to describe this movie is really slick. And I don't know. I enjoyed it. But for a significant part of it, I was just kind of felt exacerbated and kind of strung out. So for me, with that included, I'd say I'd put it uh, below Pacific Rim. All right, Scott, hit me with it.
Okay. I might be too tired. I don't know. I like was not able to follow this movie at all. I was like barely able to form thoughts about this movie. I don't know why. I was watching it the whole time. I was just not like picking it up. Um, so that said, uh, I I felt like it was really dark and like I don't know, not bad to look at the whole time, but like I had to strain to see what was going on because everything was so dark and like shaded and whatever, especially for the very like important, I guess quote like important scenes uh like at the end where she pushes her off the cliff. Like I felt like that was I was like trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. I mean, I knew what was happening, but like I felt like it was really hard to see. I feel like that happened kind of too much um in the movie. As far as the plot goes, from what I like was able to pick up, it's like a fashion show movie, which maybe that has something to do with 101 Dalmatians. I have no idea. I haven't seen it. So I might be missing out on that, but I did not like I don't understand it. Um, I don't know. I mean, it works fine and they do it well, but I don't really get it probably has some relevance beyond what I know, but I did not understand it very well, which was too bad. Um, the music is very good. It's a interesting taste, but it's not bad. It's like weird, but like a refreshing weird. Um, that kind of goes for the whole movie. Um, the I guess she was kind of supposed to be like the protagonist. But Cruella never felt like the bad guy. And from what you guys were saying about like how she is in 101 Dalmatians, I was expecting by the end of the movie she was gonna be like evil megalomaniac, all that. And that didn't happen. So I was kind of confused with that. But whatever. Sure, go for it. Um, as far as the characters go, I didn't really give a shit about any of them except for Cruella and I guess her mom. I think that was the thing. Uh, I mean, Johnny Sins was pretty funny, but I really didn't give a shit about any of the other characters. I mean, the ones that did like mean something were done well, but I didn't pick up most of it. Um, I think that's sort of my impression of the whole movie is that like the spots that they did hit, they hit it very well. Um, but it it feels to me like there was no explanation for anything. And I'm sure that's just because of my fucking 12 a.m. weed brain. Um, but I don't know, I just didn't understand what was going on in the movie at all. Uh, just frustrating. Um, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot else. That was about what I picked up. Uh, I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. It was definitely different. Um, it was, I guess, kind of a Maleficent vibe, kind of, because that's like what it is. Um, but it was different. It was original. Um, it was definitely unique because I don't know if I've ever watched a movie about a fashion show before. But again, I don't know what that meant, but sure, it was there. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else. It was enjoyable to watch. I wish I would have understood it better. Uh, Probably wouldn't watch it again because my first impression wasn't awesome. Um, Tier placement wise, I would probably put it uh well, fuck, whatever I say isn't gonna be relevant, so I would put it above Shark Tale. Um, yeah, there's that.
Dude, we fucked up. Honestly, we shouldn't have watched this tonight. We were all too tired for this, and we all started way too late. I especially should not have done this. It's fucking. I already watched a movie earlier today, and it is fucking 12:50 in the morning, and I gotta wake up like in 5 hours. This was a mistake. This was a giant fucking mistake. Sorry, I just wanted to say that out loud because we are all like exhausted right now, and I honestly think that plays into like a factor of how we are viewing this film right now, man. This is rough.
Um,
I'm not gonna lie though, I wasn't that tired while watching. I was having a pretty good time watching the movie. Like I was pretty energized, honestly. But obviously, Scott, I could 100% understand why you
I
were
was just
sleeping.
never like it wasn't even that I was like particularly bored. I just the movie never like drew me in. I don't know.
It's fair.
Scott, have you never watched The Devil Wears Prada? It's like I've never seen a movie about a fashion show.
No.
You've never watched The Devil? Fuck,
I don't
man.
think so.
I don't
I
know
mean
what the
it
hell that is either.
sounds
It's like one
familiar,
of the
but
most famous rom-coms ever.
I've heard of it,
I have not.
but I don't think I've watched it.
I think did you reference that during your predictions? Oh, whatever. Anyways,
Maybe. But yeah, this is basically like Devil Wears Prada meets a fucking murder thriller, which I don't know, it's fun.
I would say it meets more like a focus type shindig.
Yeah, whatever.
Since murder isn't like a big.
That's true. I don't know. That's very true, and I just said that. I kind of just said things.
Yeah.
Kind of
Anyway.
just said something.
Anyways. So, I'm not gonna lie, Scott. I understand where you're going from, but there's no way. Like, if you said below Solo, sure, but below the fucking
I know. Well,
Aladdin.
no, I know there's no way, but I just wasn't with this movie.
Yep. Well, then, Donnie, we have a problem.
All right, I'll compromise with you.
I,
I'll put it below Spies in Disguise.
that is quite the compromise right there. But Scott, will you go against your
Yeah,
rights and
that's
vote?
fine. I don't care.
Damn it! All right, there we go. Really, you like this movie
Heck.
more than Force Awakens? Donnie?
I like this movie more than Force Awakens. Yeah, I just think this movie. I watched this movie 1,000 times over Force Awakens. It's just
Really?
it's so much.
I would watch
I
this.
like I like the villain
I
more.
would
I
watch
like
this movie
the characters
purely so I
more.
could watch it not in 144p. And also watch it again when I'm not super tired. Um, that is just so I can have it better. But to be honest,
I'm
since
a big fan of this movie's aesthetic.
I do not give a
It
fuck,
warms my heart.
but it was alright. I mean, honestly, this is like one space above where I was gonna place it, and like one space below where you were gonna place it. So this is a fine compromise. Because honestly, I don't want to talk too much. I want to get to bed. I did enjoy this though. This was not terrible for me. And hey, we were pretty. This is 2 movies in a row. They haven't seen the other movie we're talking about, and also I fucking had OBS in the bottom corner. Anyways, they haven't seen the fucking other movie we're spot on with our predictions yet, but hey, we're getting better at it, guys. We're getting better at randomly guessing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so
Because we're gamers.
because we are gamers. Anyways, so at the time of this video's release, I believe the next over is going to be the Adventures of Lego Clutch Powers. There's a little bit of a scheduling thing because we wanted to get this one out when it is relevant for all those lovely, lovely views. So yeah, next up should be Lego Clutch Powers back in the childhood marathon. So sorry for this little detour, especially since we were all so tired for this recording. But again, we'll see you for all that gibbous, and bye bye.
Bye-bye.